Thank you for joining us for our weekly devotion. We spoke this last Sunday about an overflow of God for every season. And we noted that Ecclesiastes 3 says that there's a time and season for every activity under heaven. We also noted that season changes can be disorientating, but that whatever season we find ourselves in, that God is in the season. So whether it's a season of success and joy, God is in that season. If it's in a season of doubt and despair and your faith is really being tested, God is also in that season. As I was thinking a little bit more about this, I was also reminded of Romans chapter 8, verse 28, which tells us that God is working for good for those who love Him and who are called according to His purpose. And so I'd like to add that idea as we think about the different seasons that we find ourselves in our life. No matter what season you're in, God is working good. It may not seem like it. It may not feel like it. It may not even appear to be that way in any sense of looking at it. But somehow God is working for good. And if we can endure through the season and the season changes and we're coming to a new season, we can find that God has worked good, even if it's in our own characters, in our relationships, in how we approach life. God is working for good. So no matter what the season, firstly, God is in that season. And secondly, please remember that God is working for good in that season. But as I've said, season changes can be disorientating, and that's simply because of change. And I thought just to share with you that with every season change, well, no matter what kind of season we're in, what comes as part of that season, what comes as part of that change are two things: temptation and invitation. Temptation because perhaps we've experienced trauma, trouble, tribulation, great loss. And the temptation comes to say, well, I don't want God. If this is how hard life is, if this is what life is like, I don't want God. Perhaps it's a season of jubilation and success. The temptation there is to say, I don't need God. Look at what I've accomplished. Look at what I've done. Life is good. I don't need God. And so when we change seasons, we need to be aware that we don't succumb to the twin temptations of either saying I don't need God or I don't want God. But in every season change, there's also an invitation from our good Father. There's an invitation to draw near. There's an invitation to go deeper. There's an invitation to hide oneself in God. If we've experienced trauma and loss and sorrow, hide yourself in God. Hide your heart in God. Let Him heal your heart. If you've experienced success and triumph, hide yourself in God so that you don't succumb to the hubris of pride. And so the twin events of temptation and invitation leave us with a choice. Won't you respond to the invitation from God to draw near, to let Him hold your life, to let Him hold your heart, to surrender our successes, to cast our crowns before Him, because He is completely loving and He is the only one who is worthy. Just a last thought, John chapter 6, verse 68 and 69. The disciples have experienced a disorientating event. Jesus has taught a teaching which was hard for many to receive, the Apostle John tells us, and some leave Him and turn away. And Jesus looks at His disciples and He gives them a choice. Will you leave now too? Will you also go? Would they succumb to the temptation, or would they continue to participate in the invitation that Jesus has drawn them into to live life with Him? And Peter looks at Jesus and he says, Lord, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. To whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. We have come to believe and we now know that you are the Holy One of God. Let's be like Peter. Let's exercise our faith. Let's exercise and hold on to what we believe and know to be true about Jesus. Because He's the one who has the words of eternal life. And in every season and in every situation, good or bad, happy or sad, Jesus is the one who has the words of life for us that we need to hear, that can speak life to our souls, life to our bodies, and encourage our spirits. So as we go into this week, let's go with Jesus, Let's respond to his invitation to draw near, to hide ourselves in him at this time. May the Lord bless you in the week ahead.